depth of field lengthening the shots and movement gives the audience the freedom of vision to look left and right and look up and down to the greatest extent in space. These spaces can be deep or closed or incomparably wide. Photographers use depth of field shots to replace the scene space into the shots and cooperate with the movement of the shots, such as moving, push, or following to reshape the space. From the perspective of the status relationship of the elements in the painting, photographers often do not make any visual guidance for the audience in the movement and composition. That is, photography does not use any elements in the painting space as the main body to highlight, nor does it deliberately suppress certain elements to become companions or backgrounds, but all elements appear in the picture on an equal footing, with neither positive nor negative parts. Therefore, when the audience views the space, it is easy to create a kind of watchful psychology that is alert to all elements in the picture. By moving the camera forward and pushing the camera forward, any viewing method refuses to allow the camera to move too fast. The slow motion of the long shots, the protagonist, and the slow movement of the camera position can ensure that the audience has enough time to experience the existence of every corner and element in the picture. When the audience sees where it is, it will rise to the most attractive positive part. For this reason, moving and changing things is a positive subject everywhere, so as to create a continuous alertness effect for the audience. The continuation of mental alertness often prompts the audience to have a sense of powerlessness in the space on the screen. In addition, many images prefer to use low-key photography and deep and narrow scenes, such as the classic passage corridor, using railings or other installation elements on both sides of the passage to form a line perspective, and then using the principle of perspective points in the background to darken the surrounding space at the vanishing point, providing the audience with a visual abyss-like depth of field, which makes the audience instantly form an unfathomable and infinite psychological extension. Another situation, contrary to the above, is that a terrifying object appears at the perspective vanishing point, and the audience seems to be able to see the devil standing in the distance. In terms of the composition at this time, the location of the visual vanishing point where the terrifying object is located suddenly forms a viewpoint barrier. The visual extension is immediately closed, forming a world that seems to feel far-reaching but is actually psychologically closed, due to the relationship between near, large, and far. The distant horror object must be very small in the proportion of the spatial area of the picture, but this small area forms a visual fulcrum in the composition of the entire picture space. The visual fulcrum is not the subject and the fulcrum of the smaller horror object, but the basic outline of the horror object is basically clear, is closer to a displayed subject in the viewer's eyes. Moreover, from the perspective of the relationship between the fulcrum and the four borders, it is mostly arranged to maintain a certain and appropriate distance from the four frames of the picture. Although the horror object is small, such a position and distance form a force that dominates the surrounding area, giving the picture a centripetal force of everything. On the contrary, it can be understood why the audience feels a terrifying force emanating from the horror object at this time permeating the space. For this reason, is the fulcrum seen by the audience just a fulcrum? Maybe it will be the part closest to the subject and the most active in this picture.